Hey guys, I'm going to explain to you the 5 reasons why the $1,000 Apple stand is actually a genius move by Apple. First one is free advertising. Yeah, they're a laughing stock right now. Everyone thinks it's a joke. However, once it's successful, people will realize, wait a minute, that actually sold. It was actually valuable enough that they made money off that thing. So once that happens, and I'm going to explain why, people are going to realize that Apple's brand is actually worthwhile and that people really do depend on and use their products. Now, that brings me to point number 2. Is it actually worthwhile? Because people aren't really going to buy it unless it's actually worthwhile. And the answer is, well, to some, it is. You have to look at the target audience for the product. Now, this isn't just a normal 4K screen. This is a very expensive one. And the other ones out there that are similar to it go for a lot of money. And I mean in the tens of thousands. So when you look at the product all put together, the screen and the stand, it's actually a lot cheaper than the alternatives. And remember, it's an Apple brand product. And they own the licensing for their hardware, which means only Apple products can run Apple operating systems. So their screen already, just by being an Apple product, is uppriced a little bit. You may be thinking, okay, but still, even if the ratio of the price of this product is okay, I mean, the stand is only like 1/10 of the price of the actual screen, right? It's still $1,000 for a stand. Why would a business pay $1,000 for a stand when they can somehow come up with, something else? They can jury rig it or something. Well, that brings me to point number 3, which is the absolute value of the product becomes irrelevant for a certain percentage of the businesses out there. My brother-in-law works at a company which is very efficiently accumulating other smaller companies, and they do it all the time and very quickly. What drives him nuts is they get rid of these office supplies, which have almost nothing wrong with them. Like, they might not know how to reset a printer, and they'll just go buy another couple $1,000 printer, and he'll take the old one back home and try to fix it, and he'll get a free printer out of that. They're making like $20 million deals, and a 5% chance of one of these products failing and screwing up one of those deals is not worth the couple $1,000s it costs just to buy a new product. So that's why there will be a percentage of businesses that actually purchase this. This also affects the investors. So not only will there be customers and people writing articles about the product who find out how much it was sold, but investors will realize, wow, they were able to actually successfully sell a stand for $1,000. That's a really high profit margin. Not a lot of products can actually do that. For example, coffee. Look at the price that you can sell coffee for compared to what it actually costs to make a cup of coffee. It is a very big difference. But that's because you're not just paying for the coffee. You're paying for the service. You're paying for the coffee to be there at the right time in the right place when you want it. And that's sort of how Apple products work. They're the only pieces of hardware that are authorized to run Apple software, first of all. But they're also sort of right there with the product when your business needs it. And they're well known to actually get the job done and to last and to not be a hassle. So they sort of will be a high profit margin product, relatively speaking, when you compare it to other computer supplies. Remember, computer supplies are not going to be the most expensive thing that these companies are necessarily paying for. So their time is valuable to them. And what they're going to be trying to save money on are going to be the things within the top order of magnitude of what they're spending money on. So if they're spending money in the millions, this isn't going to matter to them as much. And that brings me to my last and perhaps most important point of all. Forget the customers and forget the investors. Even if people don't really buy the product that much, and even if investors start pulling out of Apple, there's one final thing that Apple really gets a great deal from this situation, and that is vital marketing information. Yep, marketing information. You see, Apple doesn't necessarily know what percentage of businesses out there will be willing to pay such a high price for a separate product. And by selling the product separately, what this does is it allows Apple to see who's willing to buy the computer monitor by itself without the stand compared to who's going to be buying it with the stand. And it might sound so simple, well, who cares? Well, it shows them how many businesses are buying the product because they absolutely need it and they're trying to pinch pennies on the total price of the product, and how many businesses already know they want the product. They don't really care about the price as much, but the product is valuable to them, it's vital to them, and they don't want a hassle from the product. So they're just going to pay for anything that comes with the product to help it produce its value for the business. And when Apple gets the information about that difference, it will give them all the tools they need to know how many businesses are actually going to buy their really, really high-end products in the future. See, Apple can start coming out with very high-end, very expensive computer equipment, and they'll know exactly what percentage of businesses will be willing to pay for these products. And that is a killer deal because that's their highest profit margin. What that does is that minimizes their risk on producing a whole bunch of really expensive high-end equipment because they'll know how much of it's going to be purchased. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope to see you again in the future.